Welcome. Let me start off by asking you a question about why you should be elected. Congressional elections are often about whether or not the current elected member of Congress should keep the job. So tell me, what's the strongest single reason you can offer to 3rd District voters as to why you should be elected in place of Representative Chaffetz?
Well, I've had real-life experience. I've made payroll. I've had a lot of different kinds of experience, not just one type of experience. I also believe in term limits. I think that we need to be careful having people become professional politicians, and I think that's what he's been training to be for some time. I think that is one of the reasons we have problems in working together back in Washington. So I think my experience, my maturity, and my desire to want to do something right now, I think the country is at a tipping point. I really think we have problems that are so serious that we need to solve them now. We can't continue to banter back and forth with partisan politics.
Is there a particular vote cast by Representative Chaffetz that you can point to as something that you would have handled differently?
Oh my goodness. No, because he hasn't really done that much. He's put his name on a lot of legislation that other people have talked about. But there is one piece of legislation that that I think was not beneficial to this particular district, and that was the legislation that he wanted to have passed with regard to the post office. The post office employees then doing the census. Well, what that did is it would take money away from people who were out of work and needed that work, and it would have amounted to a large deficit for our area here as far as jobs for people, and giving it to people who really already had jobs, had all sorts of benefits, and so I think that was not for the benefit of the Utah 3rd District.
Okay. What are one or two priorities within the 3rd Congressional District that you would seek to help or advance in Congress?
Well, number one is jobs.
Okay.
I think that Utah has tremendous capabilities in resources and in human resources to really be in the forefront of alternative energies, and I think we have more of those potentials here. So I would really work hard on that, and I think these would be high-paying jobs. These wouldn't be the lower-end jobs that are just jobs. We want jobs for our graduates here at BYU and at UVU and the U of U and so all the other institutions that are around here. They could support such efforts.
Okay. Well, Representative Chaffetz is on record as strongly opposing the earmark process that's followed as part of the appropriations process. What's your position on earmarks and how should they be handled in Congress?
I'm not opposed to earmarks in themselves because we pay taxes here, and if we don't earmark, we are going to not get some of that back. Now, I am opposed to earmarks that are put in and we don't know who put it in or why. I think it needs to be transparent, and I think that it needs to be something that is definitely benefiting the people and not just certain segments or special interests. So I am not opposed to the concept of earmarks. It was established so that we would know where the money's going. Otherwise, the money's going to go through some bureaucracy, and we're not going to be able to track it as well. Right now, we know where it's going. If there's a bridge to nowhere, it'll show up in the earmark.
Some observers of Congress have noted a breakdown of friendly relationships between Republicans and Democrats. Would you seek to build any close relationships with members of Congress who are Republicans?
Definitely. Well, I've been a Republican all my life, so I would definitely get along with them, but also with Democrats. And so I'm running because I think this needs to change. I think we need to be able to work together. We can't have this grandstanding going on all the time. We can't have. Yesterday, I watched them talk about the health care bill, and they're proposing some of the things that are in the present health care bill. Now, I think some of those, why take something out and then have to go through the entire process of putting it back in order again. Just take what it is. You have the capability as a legislator to put in amendments, to change things, to replace what's there without kicking out the whole baby with the bathwater.
If you needed support as a member of Congress from the other party to pass legislation, who would you turn to and why?
I would turn to probably the Republican leadership and people that I would know back in that area who are Republicans in the House. I would work with them. I believe that we need to work together. We can't be calling names. We can't be pejorative anymore. We need to work together to solve these problems. These problems are problems the entire country has. It is not, both parties are involved in creating these problems, and both parties have to be involved in solving them.
Some are predicting that Republicans will win control of the House of Representatives, but let's assume for a moment that Democrats maintain control of the House in the election in November. Assuming you are elected, who will you support for Speaker of the House and why?
Well, I would have to look at what the conditions are. I'm not going to vote automatically. I want to vote my constituency. I think that this district is very different. This is the fourth most conservative district in the United States. Nancy Pelosi comes from a district that is very, very different than our district. So I want to reflect the thoughts of the people here, which means I'd have to find out what they think about that.
If you chose not to support Nancy Pelosi, wouldn't that put you in a bad position with relation to the Democratic Party in Washington in terms of trying to get a committee assignment or other?
No, possibly, but there's too much of this seniority and rules that restrict freshmen. And I'm not going back there. I don't intend to stay there for 20 years. This is not, I have had careers before. I'm doing this as a public service. This is not something that I went looking for. It came looking to me. I was asked to do this. And it took me a long time to run on the Democratic ticket, but I'm still the same person. I still have my same conservative feelings and conservative viewpoints. What I want to do is try to get some things done. And you don't have to be on the take from the party in order to do something for your district. And I would try to change some of those things. I think the way it is right now, and I have to credit Jason with this, at least he stood up against some people there. But and I would want to do the same thing, because my district would feel very differently than, say, Pelosi's.
Okay. Do you approve of the job President Obama has done during his first 2 years in office? And what legislative proposals in particular of President Obama's do you support or oppose?
Well, I am disappointed in the performance because I think he had the bully pulpit at one point, and he could have been more forceful about some things. However, being a Republican at that time, I didn't appreciate some of the things he did. I think this health care bill was pushed through too fast. I would have wanted to spend a lot more time on it, working on it. I think that cost was not really covered here, and we have Medicare fraud problems. I mean, we've had programs on $50 billion of waste going on. I mean, these are the kinds of things we need to tackle.
How about renewing the Bush tax cuts? Would you keep those in place or no?
I think I would probably keep them in place for a given period of years, but I wouldn't make them permanent. I don't think that's sustainable.
Finally, let's shift and talk a little bit about Afghanistan for just a moment. We're almost done. In light of events in Afghanistan during the past year, what's your position on President Obama's surge of troops there? How long should we keep troops there, and is the standard for keeping troops in Afghanistan the same as Iraq?
Well, I was not too much. When we went into Afghanistan, we had a reason. The surge worked in Iraq, and so that's why they wanted to put it in again. I would not have voted against funding the surge because the troops were already committed. They were already going. So I think we have to support what we've already done. But I would like to see us pull out of there as fast as we can without leaving a problem. We went in there and we've destroyed a lot of their, whatever remaining infrastructure they had after years of fighting. And we need to leave the place better. As a woman, I'm very, very concerned about what's going to happen to women's rights there if we just come out of there. I like Mortenson's idea and 3 cups of tea of building schools, but getting the Afghanis involved in the actual construction rather than a lot of our companies. It's become, I mean, there's so much money going there, and we don't know where it's going. I think we need to clamp it down. But right now, we want to have it honorable. I remember our troops leaving Vietnam and people hanging on to helicopters when they were out, and loaded planes being, having to be thrown off ships and things. We don't want that sort of a situation again. We want an honorable leaving, and we want to feel good about leaving things there that will improve the life of these people.
Thank you very much for taking a few moments to talk.
Okay, thank you.